Hello, good morning. Welcome into another episode of Good Morning Nasdaq right here on the Clover Trading YouTube channel. My name is Dom. That is Huddie. We're two-thirds of Clover Trading. Here for you guys free on this beautiful Monday morning, the 27th day of October, year of our Lord 2025. It is actually kind of a nice morning. We had a nice weekend. Weather was good. Got the boat out of the water yesterday. Fall is upon us. That we're less and less seeing those random 60 or 70 degree days. I think we're clearly in the 30s, 40s, and 50s. Wherever you're at, I'm sure is different, but I can only live my reality and tell you about my reality. I think it's probably very similar to Huddy, so we'll count it as status quo. Do anything fun this weekend, Huddy?
I think so.
You think so?
Yeah, I have to think about it for a sec though. Did you do anything fun?
Oh, what's that? Kind of, yeah. I watched football. Had a little tailgate. Made some ribs.
Oh, that's
Um,
nice.
Ribs were good. They got 5 stars from everybody. Um, yeah, it was pretty relaxing and chill. When you have kids, and it's just when you have kids, you stop doing a whole lot of things on the weekend. Unless it has to do with taking them somewhere for experiences. But pretty good weekend. You made pot roast,
I made pot roast. I had a bachelor this whole weekend. That's why I can't remember.
a bachelor's party.
Mm-hmm.
How'd that go?
I'm not allowed to talk about it on the interwebs.
Oh, you signed an NDA.
Yeah.
Well, that's fun. Hope you all out there had a good weekend as well. If you are on your journey to profitability, I hope you spent some time yesterday or Saturday focusing in on yourself, going through some of your data, make sure that you're tracking every trade that you take by pattern, by entry, exit, all that good stuff, to hopefully find some more edges within yourself. Pretty good week last week across the board. Again, kind of hit or miss depending on your strategy, but I don't like to include everyone because if BYND wasn't something you traded, it probably was kind of a slow week. But we did have a play work or breakout Friday. We had a couple actually. 123 Drummer Max says, "Did you take DVLT?" I think both Huddy and I traded DVLT. Um, Nice daily chart there that we'd been watching for a while. That's kind of the one cool thing about having community is that you kind of tend to be in front of a lot of these big movers that have nice daily charts. If you're paying attention to them, someone usually is paying attention to them, keeping it on watch, and that play ended up kind of running. We'll see if it's got more in it today. But we do have Mark in here. 123 Drummer Max, Wayne Mash for Fun, Mazin Disclosed, Jury, Chris. Good morning. Good morning. Someone says Florida getting cold, 79 today. Wouldn't that be nice? You lived in Arizona and California though, so you know what it's like to just have nice weather all the time.
You take
Um,
it for granted. You don't take it. You don't appreciate it.
I don't know how you could. It just becomes every day your usual. Um,
Yeah.
I don't think too much about it. You wear a coat. This time of the year, you just grab a coat. It's not a big deal for Huddy. He grabs his beanie, one of his one or two, and he goes on with his day. We do got some gappers today for new around here. We talked through the biggest gappers in small cap land. Looking at stocks up 80, 90, 100 plus percent. We got 2 up over 100% this morning. We'll talk through those, go through why they're up and a little bit about their fundamentals as well as their daily charts. And then we'll answer a couple questions, get on out of here. I don't know how aggressively you've been watching the gappers. I know you've been kind of, I don't want to say it. There's rumors you've been breaking a lot of rules with them. The last few days, I've seen covers in the middle of the day, seen random stops. I don't know if you've been watching them all and trading them, and you're just like, I got bigger fish to fry. But can you give us a quick diagnosis going into the week about how gappers have been responding to big gaps?
I think they've been fine. Honestly, like I don't think I've seen any like really gnarly squeezes. At least from my memory.
I don't remember any last week. Was
Yeah.
like
So
SCNX a gapper though?
it was not for me. It did gap up, but it wasn't like a big gap up. Like it wasn't over 70%. So it's not something I even looked at until close. And I was like, whoa, that went really far. And I think we talked about that where it was just like, it was just under like, it was
Mm-hmm.
like a 50, 60%.
One of those where if you treated it like a breakout, you would have been a happy camper, huh?
for sure.
Okay, so going into the new week, you got a morning. You got a little activity. We got some gappers this morning. We'll see what this week has in store. The overall market gapping up pretty significantly this morning. Had kind of a breakout day Friday, and then is much higher, almost 1% higher this morning. So maybe getting back into some swing setting up for Kyle and Huddie. Maybe this will continue to spark some more volume here in small cap land as we approach our last week in October. And then it's just 2 months left. So we do like to keep an eye on the overall market, see what's going on there. I'm sure you people that are smart know why, something about U.S. and China. I always just hear a little bit about the headlines and then I move on. Other people maybe do more with that information, but overall market is starting at all-time highs to kick off this week. SB ESPN asked quick question for Huddie. For Gap and Crabs, to use a 40% stop from the opening price or 40% from where you enter the trade?
That's from where I enter. But the way that I tracked Gap and Craps was from the opening price. So that's how I built my foundation.
Yeah, because what are you going to do if you end up having to short it higher than 40% away from the opening price?
Yeah, I eventually built a system that allowed me to kind of not be involved in the first 5 minutes so that if it does have some kind of crazy spike out of the gate, I can have an advantageous entry to the opening price. And then maybe it's already done its like max spike for the day and I'm just in it for the fade or the backside. It doesn't always work out like that, but that's kind of the goal. So I used to get short right at open, and then after like watching them for a year, I was like, okay, I think there's a better way to do this.
All right. 9:02 a.m. You ready to tackle these, Huddy? Let's do this. Let's stay together. Let's stay on point. And let's go to BKYI, BioKey International, United States company, security and protection services industry, 6.84 million float. They have news 4 hours ago at 5 a.m. Them and IT2 Trust partner to strengthen IAM and biometric security across the Nordic region of Denmark, Sweden, Norway, and Finland. Nordic, that's a cool word. A lot of stuff over the past month or two on this fingerprint scanner, biometric security. They're pumping out news, pumping out information. Pretty low float here at 6.8 million, but not like terrifyingly low. They have 25 months of cash left. They're not really burning a ton per quarter. What do you see here fundamentally that should worry people or not worry people?
I'm nowhere with you just yet.
You gotta be with me.
What's the ticker?
BKYI.
Okay, there's a newsletter on it. Some pumping situation. So I imagine it's a pretty small company. 3.1 million warrants at $2. That's about all I see.
Okay. Page goes on forever, huh? Just seeing what they've done recently. A couple of times they've exercised some warrants this year. Up 172% right now. My thinks this offering ability is low. Up from the sub 80 cent region all the way as high as the 220s. Let's go back on this daily chart. Definitely feel like we've remembered this at some point. It looks like a gap and crap back in 24. A decent little move on really good volume to start this year. Move from $1 up towards the $4 area. And that pretty much comprises all of the momentum of this stock. Got some days in which it kind of held up and went higher, and other days that kind of are just red candles. Kind of a 50-50 batch here in terms of what happens on big volume days. You do got a ton of resistance here from the $2 area all the way into the low to mid threes. If you're drawing your lines, those are quite far away, almost a year now. But you have no way of, I guess, really knowing if those bag holders still exist or not. I do know that people use those levels and they draw their lines. And even if there was no real bag holders there, it does create levels of resistance and make it difficult for the stock to push into it, being up already almost 200% and would have to go higher to get into the meat of that resistance. It would be a big move into a real resistance, I think. What's the intraday look like? Kind of choppy since 7 a.m. In a range between the mid to high ones and the low twos. Doing pretty good volume. Like I said, what are we at already? 150 million shares traded already. What says you, Huddy? Any very clear and obvious things you want to do with this?
I feel like I like the float and I like the price range to be short biased on this stupid company that's gapping up from 70 cents to $2 with warrants in the. It's just I think it's dilutive. Has a history of spiking and failing, not really coming back. Like you said, overhead resistance. I'm definitely not afraid of this one. If it stops me out, so be it. But I have like there's other ones on the list I think we're going to go over that I'm much more afraid of.
Yeah, that makes sense. Definitely wouldn't be surprised to see it run. But this one looks like a prime candidate as a gap and crapper, just being up so much to start the day. News doesn't seem to make me all that interested. Even maybe others do really like biometric stuff. But we'll see where that is at into the open. That is your biggest gapper of the day, BKYI. No interest for me on the long side. Whenever you're seeing stuff gapping up big into resistance, everything I kind of said there, everything Huddy said kind of leans more towards I expect failure. It would be unexpected. Or I guess not unexpected. It's just more of like if it happens, it happens. If it runs further. Day one gappers are so unpredictable on a one-off situation. Overall, there can be clear trends in the data, but when you just pull up one at a time, this resistance could mean nothing. It could be in the fours by the afternoon. But I don't really like to buy stocks up 170% in the morning. That's BKYI, your biggest gapper of the day. Moving on to number 2, which is Soho. Is this a gap? Is this a gapper? Or is it like an acquisition or something?
Oh, maybe not. Maybe.
Acquired.
It's a weird price for an acquisition.
It says they're being acquired, and my intraday is basically just a barcode. So
we ignore it.
We ignore it. Nice. One off the list, huh?
You like that?
Next biggest gapper of the day is Codex. I feel like I remember this one from a past life.
Old COVID stock.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to it here. 1, 2, 3, boom, we're here. Codex, a medical device company with a 46 million float. Looks like they've grown a bit. Out of Utah. 23 minutes ago, they signed definitive agreement with Arabian Eagle in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia to establish Comira Diagnostics, a localized CoDX PCR platform across the Middle East. Arabian Eagle. That's a cool name for a company.
Or a dog.
Or like a sports team.
Yeah.
Can't get off of that. All right, we got to get off of that. 46 mil float, lower price stock, looking at from the 30-cent area into the 60 and 70 cent. We'll talk about the daily chart in a second. Looks like they're running low on cash, 2.3 months of cash left. What says Huddy here from deep dive into their fundamentals?
I mean, Codex is something we've seen around. Like, this is what I always say about these things. Like, when I know what the ticker is and I've traded it 100 times, and it's much lower price than whatever I ever traded it at. Like, that's not a good situation. These guys used to be trying to like cure COVID or get diagnostics out. And now they're, with Arabian Eagle. Probably not a good situation. They've probably been diluted for the past 4 years since COVID. So, I mean, I would kind of like expect it to be like, without even doing any research, I just expect this to be a bad company. Like, I think there's a lot of people that probably look at this and see 72 cents as a breakout area, and I would not be tempted by that, just knowing what Codex is. It's just like not a fresh chart. It's been around too long.
Anything you see in the fundamentals that are super intriguing? I see an ATM from October with 4 million left on it.
They're able to do an offering or an ATM if they want to. That's what I see. I just think you're buying into a dilutive situation, you know, without like doing much research.
Yeah, volume is pretty good to start off the day. 250-ish million on that day that was set in September. Pretty much identical daily candles in terms of where we started and where we've been so far. Kind of what we were just talking about with the last gapper. Maybe it was BKYI, but definitely some very clear and obvious resistance overhead. This one is a much fresher, so wouldn't be surprised if there are some people who are in a position where they were down for the last few weeks and months and are now break even, down less, up on their position, etc. That's what resistance is. That's what back holders are. The further back we go, really hasn't been a lot of life in this stock. It is definitely top left to bottom right. But in terms of big volume days, that is either when you go way back to what Huddie's talking about back in the 2020, 2021 boom. Since then, it's really gotten demolished, and there hasn't been a whole lot of interest besides the most recent spikeage. On that day, I would note just that it had a strong day, held up near the highs. It did not continue. It gapped down the next day, and that's kind of been the highest we've seen it since September. I also wouldn't look at this like a mouth-watering situation to buy a breakout over. It's a lot of range. It's a big move to get to those areas. If it is doing, by mid-morning, looking like it's on track to do 500 million, a billion, maybe there's a room between that 70-cent area and a dollar, but you would be buying a stock up around 100+%, which is always a little sketchy, a little scary to do. But sometimes those are the stocks that make the biggest moves. That's kind of the two angles I see. I see shortened resistance, a stock that should not, it's already kind of failing off of that level right now. Or later down the line, maybe a breakout over that area. But again, I'm much more of a multi-day breakout kind of guy where we're consolidating underneath the key level. These ones are always tricky because you do see situations where they gap, spike into a big resistance and go much higher. But a lot of times they do struggle at those areas. And even if they do continue, they're really, really choppy around that resistance and really tough to keep a position. So both of the gappers so far, I kind of see as being gapping into resistance that should affect it and make it difficult to continue. And those are your... Oh, wait, we have one more. Click. You see this one? Just lie and say yes.
Yes.
What do we got here? Looking like maybe a China scam.
Yeah. From the looks of it, at least.
Yeah. From what I see, they have 800K flow out of Hong Kong. When you look at their dilution page, it's just glowing, all green across the board. Looks like they did earnings before the weekend. But you got a $10 to $15 stock that is trading at less than $1 million float. You got Hong Kong in the name. You got a lot of pops on this chart. One that maybe Huddie would go, I think it fails, but I don't really want to F around and find out.
That's exactly how I feel. What is it, a low flow?
Yeah, 800K.
Oh. Yeah, like this one I don't want to go anywhere near. I think it could fade pretty hard, but I just feel like it also could get weird. Its country is Hong Kong, so that's a big red flag for me. The float's under 1 mil, that's a big red flag for me. There is a history of being an absolute scam and dumping, so that's a big red flag for me. And so that's 3 red flags, and 3 strikes are out. I don't want to touch this thing. Long or short, I don't want to be involved.
Some traders maybe would even have a rule where it's like 1 red flag and you're out, and you go all the way to 3.
Well, I just found 3, just like within like 30 seconds of blinking my eyes, there was 3.
Yeah, anytime I really see Hong Kong and I see a daily chart that has just a bunch of random volume days, even though they're not really high volume days, just popping out on the chart, you have this dilution liquidation looking back here where we are strong, happy, consolidationing, and then all of a sudden we go from 90 to 5. That is enough of a red flag. Usually there I'm like, leave it alone. We've obviously seen charts like MLGO, Holo, stuff that fit the same type of bill that do go on massive runs. Still tricky stocks to trade, I think. But when you see kind of the low-hanging fruit like these, I think they're pretty easy avoids for me anyway. If you want to go after it, do it. They released earnings last week. All right, those are your big scappers. BKYI. Oh my gosh, wait, we have another one. What was the other one we were talking about? It was BKYI and what?
Codex is gone.
Codex is gone. What was the other one that we had that is now gone?
That's it.
All right, well that okay. But KITT robotics play just popped up.
Yeah.
Up 100%.
Robotics and rare earth.
The robotics rare earth play?
Yeah, they're look at the PR.
Aerospace and defense. Let's go here. 5 minutes ago, they secured $250 million equity facility and launches strategic initiative to enter deep sea rare earth metal exploration market. When you see that, do you think that they're legit, or do you think that they're just throwing buzzwords around?
When I see that, I imagine in my head a robot in the water picking up rocks. That's what I see.
That's where so your brain goes literal.
Yeah. I'm like, okay. That could be good, maybe.
It's intriguing at the least. 7 mil float here. We've seen robotic stocks. We've even seen like smaller cap robotics like RR with robotics in the name have some big moves over the past months. Situation's not great here in terms of the company. Negative 0.7 months of cash left, burning $7 million a quarter. Do you see anything dilutive here that tickles your eye?
I haven't even looked. I think KITT is dilutive. I mean, we've traded this ticker many times, and they've clearly done reverse splits. I wonder what the float is. I bet you it's low.
7 million.
Oh, it's not as bad as I thought.
Yeah, it looks like it was a reverse split because I remember that breakout to start the year.
Yeah, I mean, this thing has been dilutive. They've been doing reverse splits. They're just trying to, put out a PR and get their name into the news wires and get people to buy their stock. The thing about it, though, is it's in a hot sector, right? Robotic stocks is kind of like a warm sector if you're looking at like RR, Rich Tech Robotics. That's been going on quite the run for the past 3 or 4 months. And, Kit's kind of in that field. So like as like a blind short seller, I don't really want to short sell things in hot sectors. It just feels like you're asking to get run over by demand. But that being said, they are dilutive and they might just destroy their stock. Like I don't know really. I'm probably going to avoid this one, mainly due to the hot sector. Doesn't mean it's going to run at all. I just think it's better to be safe than sorry.
Yeah, and 12 minutes ago till the open, you kind of just got going here at like 9-10 a.m. So one that might not even be up 100% in 12 minutes. So far, churning pretty good volume. When you look at this daily chart and you go back a little while, in that 10, 15 minutes so far, we've already kind of dwarfed all the volume from the past few years. Obviously, reverse splatted before, and so that is going to affect the daily candles that we see. But volume's pretty decent. It's fine. It's okay right now. Cool theme, though. We like robots in the water doing things, right? But pretty new, pretty fresh here right before the open, and I will leave alone. And maybe these ones probably have better odds of failures because they haven't spent a lot of time in the morning getting people intrigued, holding support levels, creating zones. But I won't be finding that out. But I know, and the main thing I like doing this most of the time, 90-something% of the time, I don't touch any of these stocks that we talk about in the morning on Good Morning Nasdaq. But the good thing is when we get to 2 p.m. in the afternoon or tomorrow, or it's a reversal down the line, I have already done the deep dive. Huddie's given me the fundamental reasons. I know the float, I know the sector, I know the news. And that's what this has always been for me, is a way to prepare for your day. Because I think last night you should have already prepared for the other stocks on your list and know all that information. And so that way you're in the know, right? We want to be in the know, even as ignorant as we are. We try to be in the know. Yeah, I knew DVLT would gap up. I knew it. I knew it. Just had to do it. It's just basically a little higher than yesterday.
I thought I kind of I've been buying where you were selling.
It wasn't like a gapper play for me. It was more of like I had a position from much lower and I wanted it to be easy. SCNX for reversal. It fits. It technically fits. Last time I looked at it, it was gapping down. What is it? Down 11% right now. It fits. Do with that what you will. It fits reversal criteria. Again, I've not seen a ton of reversals really work lately. Thoughts on BYND? I don't have any thoughts. I'm not treating it as a reversal or a first green day. It could bounce off the $2 area. Pretty weak. I think they bagged a lot of people in the 2 to 4 range. My thoughts don't really matter pattern wise. If you just shut your eyes and play it, I think it fits reversal today. And I wouldn't be surprised to see it bounce at some point. I think the short's kind of come and gone for any lower. I do think there's the potential for like a multi-day bounce here on a day in which we can really pump out some volume, and maybe that's a safer play, waiting for it to be holding up into the afternoon and gapping up the next day. But I feel like at this point I'm just trying to find a play on something that has been good to me versus just stick to the patterns. Are you looking to buy it today?
I have played maybe 10 reversals this whole year. So I'm not systematic about it at all, I guess is my point. And most of the time I'm ignoring them because I just don't like the pattern. And I have a hard time buying stocks that are illiquid and then they're going to become liquid. And I have to put faith in that. I don't like that because I think I just get dogged. So for the most part, I don't like pattern just because of the way that it sets up. Not that it's not a good pattern. My gut is that I think SCNX can bounce. That's what my gut says. That's what kind of my data says as well. But am I going to play it? I don't know. I don't really want to.
That's awesome. We were talking about BYND.
Are we playing BYND?
That's what we were talking about.
Okay, cool. What's with BYND? What's the question? I like BYND. That's a good pattern.
For a reversal.
Absolutely not. This thing is a dog. Do you know how much overhead resistance it just made in the past 3 days? Like this looks broken. It tried to bounce and it failed. Like it tried to bounce and it couldn't even get $1, and then it went $1 lower. They put out earnings, preliminary, which generally like that means that they're probably getting ready
really
for an offering.
Good. Oh yeah.
So like now if there's an offering and you're long and you deserve it because they're kind of telling you it's coming. Not that I want to see anyone lose money, but like there's warning signs right now that this is a horrible company, and if you're not going to heed those warnings and you want to contra trend and buy the dip off too, like I guess have a good time. I just think you're putting yourself in a very hard uphill battle, and the trend is down. The nature of the stock is down. The fundamentals are down. Green flags for shorting, by the way.
It is
not that I would short it at 2, but
no, gosh.
But I wouldn't be surprised if this was at $1.50 later.
Yeah, what I would add is just if you are a systematic like first green day reversal buyer, do what you got to do. And if you're kind of on the flip side where you only trade a pattern, if you kind of really like the idea and are convicted, these stocks, they don't have to bounce. They don't have to. This stock started at 60 cents. It was a Reddit play. It was a lot of hype behind it. It was massive volume on the front side, but that does not mean the volume. I mean that the volatility and the strength and any of that has to come back. It's never a guarantee. So the more paper cuts or losses you take along a backside trying to bounce it and it doesn't bounce, it doesn't need to be that you're stuck in some major gap down or dilution or bad news or whatever. You can just keep losing over and over and over because the stock doesn't bounce. I think it tried to bounce multiple times over the past few days. I know daily chart wise, it just looks clean like a fade. But again, that's why I would not be surprised to see it bounce, but I would also not be surprised to see it just really struggle. And it's not like some easy hold where it spikes from 2 to 3. It might take a day or two to go from 2 to 3 and pull back a lot in the process. So I've just kind of deemed it a challenge play, and I don't like challenge. I like easy. I really like when plays are easy. That's my favorite. All right, got to make a coffee. Got to get downstairs. 9:24 in the morning. Hope you guys have a wonderful start to your week. Like button looks a little sad this morning, only 32. If we can get that number over 40 on the way out, would appreciate it. We'll be live again tomorrow. Enjoy this week with me because I will be gone for a week. I know I never really just leave. This is the one time where I'm literally in the woods and I can't do it. But next week we'll be at deer camp, and we got to tell Kyle that too, so don't tell him yet. But Huddy, we do need a quote because last week you left and we didn't have a quote. You had 2, and then all of a sudden we got 0.
All right, I'm just going to read the first one that I see. Accept that all of your heroes are full of shit. That's a weird one.
That was one you wrote down at the seminar?
Yeah. I think the overall message
as we're on the internet talking to people.
I hope we're not anyone's hero.
We're not. We should not be. You have the wrong guy.
Well, I think the point of the quote is that, like, I think we hold those who we look up to with such high, like, credence. Like, we think that they're just, like, mistake proof, and it's just not true. Like, we're all kind of in reality humans, and, like, it's just what we build up in our minds is not necessarily the reality. Like, I was watching a podcast with a guy that interviews, like, Matthew McConaughey and all these other, like, famous people, like Bernie Sanders recently, and he's just like, look, like, all these people, like, they're just people doing extraordinary things, but at the end of the day, like, they still, like, mismatch their socks.
They still cry. They still get hungry, right? They still want to get
I need to get ready for market open.
Oh, shush up. I'm going to be late. I always am. And I do it for you.
Yeah, but it's not about you right now.
It is about me. All right, everybody. We will see you tomorrow morning. Have a wonderful start to your week. And, yeah, stay classy out there, all right?